friends, welcome to the first episode of Scar Speed Show. Thank you for choosing to be here. I know you have many choices being with kids, traveling, working on your project. So I want to thank you for being in here. And I will be in charge of bringing up speakers and removing them. When I call on the speaker, please introduce yourself in 1 to 2 lines max and then tell us about your perspective. So this way, people know where you're coming from. If you want to speak, request to speak by clicking the bottom right button and pressing on the hand emoji. Many people with different perspectives have been invited, so it's a floating structure. When you feel you want to make a point, request to be a speaker, and my team or I
This
will
is
bring
old,
you
man.
up on the stage. If you didn't get to speak, you can always come back next week, and I value your opinion. We have come up with some questions and topics beforehand, and naturally, the audience and speakers will have some questions that we try to address in the short amount of time that we have. I'd appreciate it if you guys can retweet this space in order for other people to join our conversation. What this show is not about. This show is not about selling your dog to buy some tokens. This is not a pump and dump show. No shilling, no exposing people who are not here to defend themselves, and we are not saving anyone or any crypto projects here. So let's go talk about what this show is about. It's about growing the Web3 community, creating an opportunity for people with a stand on a subject to be heard. Listen in for what you want to get out of this space. Full disclosure, I'm not promoting specific tokens. I do own specific tokens, but I'm curious to learn. If Twitter rugged us, we open the space quickly and jump back on. We stay with the topics. If you digress, ramble, or interrupt, I will have to remove you as the speaker. If you are completely off or disrespecting anyone on this space, I just boot you, but don't block you. So you may come back again. Also, you can DM us with your opinion. If you want a topic other than what we plan to speak about, I volunteer opening an additional space outside the space to talk about it. So let's go over the topics that we're going to talk about in this space. So the first one will be games versus blockchain games. I know this is something really important for every people to know in this space, and this is like one of our important topics. And the second is the why do scams happen in the blockchain games? The third one, where are the NFTs in general heading? We are also going to talk about Axie Infinity came up very strong, but now at a different state, and why video game makers see huge potential in blockchain. What are the barriers to getting play to earn games mainstream, and why big companies like Final Fantasy is bullish on blockchain gaming in 2023.
Okay.
So now we can go ahead and start the first topic, which is games versus blockchain games, and I want to have Mustafa to start.
Thank you so much, Sean, for that amazing intro and just explaining everybody what the rules are. And I hope it's very clear. I do deeply apologize for the last time we had our Twitter space go live. We had a bunch of technical difficulties. Learned many things, and voila, now we're back here. And thank you all for joining. Whoever could join, I really appreciate it. Anyway, so let's continue with the subject matter here, which is actually of absolute importance. It's something that is changing the way we perceive reality, to be very honest. It's something so serious, and people aren't really talking as much as people should be talking about it. You know, it's how blockchain is affecting our daily life, especially for us who are game developers, developing games as well. Being in an ecosystem where we're developing applications on blockchain, where we're developing games on Web2, and then looking at a fusion where we see a dimension which was something we had not seen before. And I'll dive into it quickly, giving you a recap of games in general, and then why is blockchain gaming so profound that more and it doesn't like whatever we say or whatever however much I emphasize on this, it's not as much as I should essentially. So let's dive into games. And I'm going to keep it very short. I'm not going to bore you guys to death. If you guys don't like me or the speed that I'm going at, please raise your hand, leave a message. Somebody from the team will let me know because I have a lot to talk about here. And, last Twitter space didn't really do well for me. Anyways, so let's talk about games in general, and let me give you guys a quick background of it. So games have always been there since time immemorial. Thousands of years ago, people were playing games. And games have different forms, different ways in which you can experience a game. Initially, games were a method of actively playing, right? So your body's engaged, you're fully engaged, you're running in a field. A progression of that can be seen in football today, right? Which is as big as it gets. We look at tennis, we look at squash, we look at all these different games that you play, and there are many, many of them, right? So this is the earliest adoption of games, and then slowly we moved to a new era where mind became the focal point, not just the body. Where we started looking at board games. We have chess, ancient game. We have if you search up on Google how many board games there are, you will be amazed. You'll be shocked. But that's not where the fun ends. So this is all.
I've never done this before, so I'm just like jotting down some notes.
In the 19th century, there was the advent of computer games, which drastically changes the way initially we were perceiving games. It's much more engaging, much more entertaining. I could actually sit in front of a TV and just be lost, right? And the slow evolution, the gradual evolution, and the fast evolution is right before our eyes. Up to a point where now we have esports. Korea is doing very well in this field. We have many others. So China's doing a lot in this field as well. We have other parts of the world actively engaging into the real esports community, where these computer games, mobile games, will be the future of stadiums, where people would actually come and watch them. And a good example of this is Legends of Runeterra by Riot Games. If you go on YouTube and you look it up, you'll be shocked that if you stream a good game of Legends of Runeterra, which is a card game, by the way, you have about 600,000-700,000 likes, or not likes, but views on YouTube, right? Which is insane. And this is just one. Like there's so many of them out there, and so far so good. So I've spoken about the history. We've moved towards a dynamic worldview where gaming is taking center stage, which is amazing. That's awesome. And now we have this cusp that we're at, which is blockchain games.
I mean, yes, but no.
Completely changes everything. Why? So the real question is why. I don't want to talk about.
That's not mass adoption talk.
Blockchain games are going to change the world because it's tokenomics, because it's NFTs are going to do this and change the world, and all that is fun stuff. Technical, very technical in nature. Well, we can talk about it later. But philosophically, what does blockchain games do? And this is such a core concept. If we all understand this, we'll be in a better position to move forward and understand the delicate subject matter, which it is when we speak about blockchain gaming and so on. In its essence, what blockchain does is it gives value to the time that you spend playing a game. That's the essence of it. A good example would be 10 years ago, you're playing your game.
Like the Pokemon, most referenced game, but sure.
Best game in the world. I love Pokemon, by the way. I'm sure many people here have played Pokemon. There you go. I see you. Yes, 100%. I agree with you. Pokemon, one of the best games, right? Now, I remember my mom coming up to me and telling me, listen, buddy, you're wasting your time. Can you stop playing this game? I'm going to take your Game Boy from you and you're done. And now the time is coming where we're looking at an ecosystem which says, my mom can't really say that to me anymore. Nobody can. So actually the time that I'm going to spend playing this game has value that I can pull out of the game now. So call it a financial store where my time is ticking and I'm spending my time playing a game and it's accruing value. It's unbelievable. I can take this value outside of the game and I can trade it independently on, let's say, what is it, exchange A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever the exchange is. Now, this is the core concept of NFTs. Now, obviously, NFTs are going to jump into this, why NFTs come into play here, and what is an NFT. Obviously, I'm not going to go really deep dive into what an NFT is. I'm sure people are aware. If you're not, if you want me to explain this, you guys can jump in, ask questions, talk about it. That's all good. But generally speaking, talking about the first aspect of our today's talk, about how games have evolved into what we are looking at today, which is blockchain games, and why are blockchain games so tricky? Why is it so tricky? It's tricky because there's finance associated with it. There's a dollar value associated with it. It's difficult for somebody to say that it's a scam or it's not a scam. I mean, there are a few telltale signs. Obviously, we can talk about that, but inevitably, I've seen people, known people, smart people, right, including myself. To be honest, I mean, I think I did the best I could in terms of due diligence, and it didn't work out for me. So you really, when it comes to scams, you can't really with 100% precision aspect, you can't really say that, oh, I'm gonna be 100% safe. It's just the nature of how investments work. But in crypto, generally, scams have been just absolutely insane. And hats off to this ecosystem that just continues to stay. I swear to God, if this was any other industry with these many scams, I'd say the industry would be dead. But it's the true believers, the core believers in this technology, which have kept this alive. And this is just the beginning. The future is absolutely it's going to be revolutionary, and in a very literal sense. It's really going to change the way we see things here. We don't even know how big this game could be, a good blockchain game. And so let's move on now to the next point. Where what is, I believe somebody has.
So what are your guys' take on this? Crypto, how to what's your take on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody wants to
My
speak, by the
Yeah,
take
way,
if
guys,
on
anyone wants
please,
the
to speak, you
whole
guys can go ahead
yeah,
and
please,
the
yeah,
whole
please
topic
raise
of
your
games
hand.
versus
You guys
blockchain
can jump
games,
in.
we really have to focus on what is the
Words of wisdom,
benefit
always
bringing
good.
us with blockchain gaming. So, why would
Yeah.
I, as a consumer, choose a Web3
My take
game
on
over
the
a Web2
whole
game? There are
topic of
incentives
games
to
versus blockchain
playing
games.
blockchain
We
games,
really
like,
have to focus on
but
what is the
the
benefit
really
bringing
what's
us
tough
with
about that
blockchain
is
gaming. So
you're trying to convince a
why would
gamer
I, as
to
a
focus on
consumer,
non-gaming
choose a
aspects of
Web3
gaming.
game over a
And
Web2
I
game?
think that
There
the
are
biggest draw
incentives
in that people
to
need to
playing
focus on
blockchain
is the
games,
gameplay. Is the
but
gameplay fun and
the
engaging?
really
Is it
what's tough
innovative?
about that is
And how that
you're trying to
gameplay
convince the
relates
gamer
to
to
blockchain
focus
gaming,
on
meaning
non-gaming aspects of gaming.
how let's say for instance, like you
And
can
I
craft
think
your own
the biggest
items in a
draw in
game.
that
Like
people need to focus on
let's say a game like RuneScape. You
is
make
the
your own
gameplay fun and engaging? Is it
you make your own
innovative?
armor. You
And
you go
how
into the
that
mines.
gameplay
You get
relates
your
to
iron ore or
blockchain
whatever.
gaming, meaning
You smelt it in the smelter.
let's say for
You
instance,
make
like you can
items,
craft
and
your
this is
own
something that I did in the past
items in a
actually.
game.
I would
Let's say a
smelt
game like
the
RuneScape.
iron,
You
and then
make
I
your
would
own
be on the street just
you make your own
typing
armor. You
for
go into the
hours,
mines. You get
selling
your
iron
ore
bars
or
at a
whatever.
certain price.
You smelt it
So
in the
like
smelter.
that whole
You
like
make
market
items.
aspect
This is
of
something
it,
that I did in the past
the
actually.
blockchain allows
I would
us
I would
to
smelt the
tap
iron,
into
and then I
a
would be on
realm
the
where it's
street
like instead of just
typing
like you said,
for
wasting
hours,
time on
selling
Pokemon,
iron bars
we're not
at a
wasting
certain
time
price.
anymore. Like this is something
So
that is
like
giving us
that whole
financial
like
gain.
market
So like
aspect
my
of it,
perspective is
the
the blockchain allows us to get
tap
a
into
more
a realm where it's like instead
better
of
use
just
of our time.
like
It
you
also
said,
allows us
wasting
to
time
get
on
some kind of
Pokemon,
economic
we're not
gain for the
wasting time
game.
anymore. Like this is
And
something that is giving us financial
I've
gain.
jotted down a lot of
So like
notes
my
here. I don't want to like
perspective
take
is
up all the
the
space, but
blockchain allows us
I'll let other people
to
talk.
get a
But I have a lot
more
of like ideas of like what
better use
blockchain
of our
gaming can
time.
do
It
for
also
the
allows us to get
gaming
some kind of
ecosystems
economic
that
gain
exist
for the
out
game.
there.
And I've jotted down a lot of notes here. I don't want to like take up all the space, but I'll let other people talk. But I have a lot of like ideas of like what blockchain gaming can do for the gaming ecosystems that exist out there.
So beautiful points there, crypto. Huddle. It's honestly, you're spot on, and I believe what you're talking about is that the game has to be foundational. So the game is the core, and everything else is subject to the game. Whereas what we see these days is that it's the financial system which is the core, and then the game is a client to this financial system, which doesn't really make sense. It kills the purpose of the game, which is exactly what you were suggesting, that the game is not fun anymore. And is this what a blockchain game is? To this, I will explicitly reply that, like I said, this is just the beginning. And it's a matter of time before good game designers with solid experience, with game designers who've been fortunate enough to have had experience in blockchain development,
I'm all over the
come
place,
together
dude.
and they build a game which proves that you could have a game which is fun. You could have a game which is the core, the fundamental of the experience, and blockchain is just a layer on top to add just more value to it. And a lot of this has to do with tokenomics, to be very honest. That's my understanding because in games, when we make games, there's cost of acquisition, which is a part of any game developers or any game publishers core, where you need to make sure that you're able to get users for the game, which is obviously paid, non-paid, but there's a strategy that goes here. Um, and on the other side, you have the retention mechanics. So if I do play the game, do I stay retained? And what blockchain gaming has done is my purpose of playing the game has shifted now. So in the case of Axie Infinity, we've seen this happen, where the purpose of me playing the game is to make money, and and that's just the core focus. It's not that the game is fun. I mean, I will never play
Yeah, I
Axie
just want
Infinity
to
because it's a fun
piggyback
game.
off what you
It's really,
said.
it's not.
So, like,
It's
we've seen a lot of these
even though
games
I'm
that
not gonna say it's not
appear
a
to
game,
be
it is a
games,
game,
but they're really just
but it's
simulations that you
the
just kind of
purpose is
manage. And that's
yeah,
why these
sure, go for
ecosystems
it.
have failed, in my opinion, because the games that are
Yeah, I
actually
just want
focused
to
on
piggyback
gameplay,
off what you
that are
said.
trying to
So,
bring
like, we've
undead
seen a lot
blocks,
of
for
these
instance, and
games
I don't
that
mean to
appear
mention
to be
like
games. They're
specific
really
games
just
here, but
simulations
that
that
has
you
a
just
game with
kind
a
of
lot of replay
manage.
value.
And
It's like very
that's why
comparable
these
to a game like
ecosystems
Left 4
have failed,
Dead,
in
where
my
we
opinion,
have
because
this
the
experience
games that are
before,
actually
go
focused
around
on
shooting
gameplay,
zombies, and it's
that
something
are
that
trying to
we're
bring like
comfortable and
undead
familiar with,
blocks, for instance,
and it
and
has a
mentioning
Web3
like
aspect to
specific
it on
games here,
top
but
of it.
that
So I
has a
think
game with a
really what
lot
it
of
comes
replay
down to is the
value. It's
gameplay
like
fun,
very
and are there
comparable to a game like
mechanics
Left 4
involved
Dead,
that
where we
allow us to do
have this
things like
experience before,
DeFi?
go
Like
around
for
shooting
instance,
zombies, and it's something that we're
Splinterlands
comfortable and
has
familiar
like
with,
a
and it
GameFi
has a
aspect to it,
Web3
where you hold
aspect to it
the
on top of
token,
it. So
you
I
earn
think
the
really what
token,
it
but you
comes down
also
to
play a
is
game
the
on top of
gameplay
that, and
fun,
it's
and are there
completely
mechanics
separate from the game
involved that
experience. It
allow us
doesn't
to do things
involve
like
the game experience at
DeFi?
all.
Like
Like,
for
and
instance,
the other thing I want to mention is a lot of
Splinterlands
these
has
games
like
have
a
barriers to
GameFi
entry.
aspect to it where you
So
hold
I think
the
Axie, you
token
have to buy an
and you earn the
NFT to
token,
actually
but you
play it.
also play a game on top of that, and
And
it's
the
completely
thing is,
separate from
like,
the game
when you have a
experience. It
barrier of
doesn't
entry,
involve the game
you're
experience
limiting
at
the
all.
experience
And
for
the other
a
thing I want to
wider
mention
player
is a lot of
base.
these games
A lot
have
of games
barriers
have
to
like
entry.
a free to play
So I
model,
think
or they
Axie,
have
you
a
have to
pay to
buy
play
an
model,
NFT to
which is
actually
like you
play
just
it.
buy the game and you get the game.
And
And really,
the thing is, like,
when it
when
comes
you have a
to
barrier of
NFTs to
entry,
have
you're
access
limiting
to
the
play the
experience
game,
for
the
a
NFT price
wider
isn't a
player
fixed
base.
price,
A
and
lot
that's
of
the
games
problem that
have
I
like
see.
a free to play model, or they have a pay to play model, which is like you just buy the game and you get the game. And really, when it comes to NFTs to have access to play the game, the NFT price isn't a fixed price, and that's the problem that I see.
I agree with what you're saying 100%. You're actually speaking like as if it's from within me. Honestly, this is so crazy. I've shared these points with. Oh, this is amazing. And so I'll just continue on.
So
To
Mustafa, I have a
yeah,
point here. So
yeah,
why
yeah.
do you think the players should actually think about the the fun aspect of the game as well? Like, don't you think there are a lot of people who actually need that money? Like, they would really need to play to actually make some money, not just having fun.
This is an excellent question. And the thing is that what's happening is that users' behavior is changing.
Great
This
point.
is a question of user behavior, and this has to do a lot with testing. But there are different ways in
I
which
should
we can
probably
solve
mute
problems.
on
So
stream when
number
I'm
one,
talking so it
if
doesn't
you
overlap.
create the game for the wrong purpose, or the game was created to make money, it's something else. It's not for fun, then it's for money. That's the core. That's the objective of the game. With blockchain, if the technology allows you to keep the game fun, but at the same time attach financial value in one way or the other, and we'll get to paywalls, and it all comes here in this area. Would you be comfortable with it? The thing is that if you start playing a game of this nature, you don't even know yourself how you would start behaving. If I knew that while I was playing a very good game, let's say Call of Duty, I love COD, right? Or if I was playing my favorite game, let's say Pokemon or something else, and if I found out that I actually have value, that there's a dollar amount associated with what I do, and
Counter
my
Strike.
time actually has value while playing the game, my perception of the game will change, and the way I will perceive this game will change. Now, how will this change be reflected? I mean, we've seen it in Axie Infinity in the Philippines, where you bought these NFTs. Many people bought these NFTs, which is a paywall, 100%. So you need the NFT to play the game. You need 3 of them, and just people just went crazy because of the economy, the stature of the economy. People went absolutely crazy. Get the NFTs, get on it early, start making money, and that's what it is. Now, this is where the fluctuation of the NFT comes into question. So I'm not saying, Axie Infinity did something wrong or right. Whatever they're doing, whatever they did, obviously there's some value
I have a
associated there.
solution.
What we are doing as independent, thinkers, as thought leaders, we're here to
Yeah,
talk
so I
about this
think the
subject. We're
solution to
here
the
to see if the
fluctuation
community
is that
improve
there should
in
be
any way,
a
right?
kind of
And
like how
we
the
want to,
battle passes work
make
in
sure
these
that
free to
this
play
is how
games.
we
There
look
should
at it.
be more
Yeah, sure.
gaming ecosystem should adopt this. There should be a simple access pass. It has a fixed
So I
rate,
think the
and
solution
it's
to
not
that
like fluctuating in
fluctuation is
price.
that there should be a
It's just a fixed rate, and I
kind of like how
think
the
Gala
battle
Games
passes work in
decided
these
to do
free-to-play
this too,
games.
where
There
they have
should
like a
be
gold access
more
thing.
gaming ecosystems should
It's a
adopt
fixed
this.
price, and
There
like
should
if the
be a
it's
simple
based in Gala
access
token, but
pass.
it's
Has a
it's
fixed
focused
rate,
on the price
and
point
it's
of like
not like
I think it's
fluctuating in
like $20
price.
or something.
It's just a
So if
fixed
it
rate.
goes
I
up in
think
price,
Gala
if
Games
Gala goes up
decided to do this
in
too, where they have
value,
like a gold access thing.
they'll lower
It's a
the
fixed price, and like
recommended
if the
amount of it. So
it's based in
I
Gala
think
token, but
Access Pass is like
focused
one of the
on the price
biggest things
point
they
of
could
like
do that
I think it's like
could
20
fix
bucks or
that
something.
problem with the
So if it
fluctuating
goes up
price,
in
because
price,
crypto is
if
very
Gala goes up
volatile,
in
and
value,
if you're having a market that's
they'll
trying to
lower
get
the
into the game,
recommended amount of it. So
it's
I
really
think
it's not
Access Pass
inclusive
is like
because
one of
you're
the biggest things
alienating
they
a
could
lot of
do
people that would
could fix
like
that
to play the
problem
game,
with
but they can't afford
fluctuating price. 'Cause crypto is
$800
very
NFT to
volatile,
play the game.
and if you're having a market that's trying to get into the game, um, it's not inclusive because you're alienating a lot of people that would like to play the game, but they can't afford $800 NFT to play the game.
Oh, Score Milk,
Agreed.
do you wanna
Yeah, Score Milk.
add to that?
Yeah, you want to jump in?
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having me. I think games for the future of blockchain gaming, I think games have to be free from the get-go. I think to get the traditional gamer on board, you got to offer it free and then little by little introduce them to the Web3 aspects, where there's, the benefits of having the NFT and what that can produce. Now, going back to the topic, I know Mustafa mentioned how blockchain gives value to time being played. Blockchain also facilitates skill. Before there are esports, esports has been around for a while, but blockchain facilitates just letting the casual gamer participate in skill-based gameplay where they actually get rewarded for how good they are. So that's one thing I just wanted to add. But Mustafa, I mean, I think that was a great introduction of what you did. A
I'm gonna
lot
let
of
other
people
people
may not
speak. I
see
don't
it
want to
like
hog
that.
the mic.
Going back
And
to
I'm
the
like stuttering
topic
a lot.
of it being free, I think that's really the way.
I'm really bad at doing like things live. I'm better at editing and like
People who
I don't
have
know.
kids
I'm
who play
noticing that I'm way
Roblox,
better at
and they're
like
like,
editing.
I don't care about Web3. It's just too difficult. I have to create a Coinbase, have to create a wallet, I have to execute a smart contract. That's just too much for me. Okay, what if we just allow them to play a game that's fun, just like they play any other game? And then little by little, you go ahead and start introducing to them. Once you're already hooked on the game, I think that's the important thing. Make the game fun, have the players playing. Once they're already playing, then little by little, you can start saying, oh, look, check out this skin. You could have an
I agree
actual
100% with what
asset
he just said
that
though.
you can use in a metaverse or whatever, or in this game that actually has value and you can easily incorporate to some type of marketplace. I think that's really the future of gaming. I think putting an entry barrier, I don't think that's the right way to go.
I agree. I agree. You're spot on. And there's much I want to honestly say about this, but I got like Mikkel here, who wants to jump in. Mikkel, jump in.
Hey, yeah. Just kind of off what you were talking about, all the steps that
It's a pretty good space. I like it.
coming into
This is new to me. This is so new. Like I've never been invited to this. I'm trying to contain my hype right now, and I'm fucking hype, bro.
But our big focus this year,
All my hard work is paying off, dude. Just need to get a job from somebody. Someone hire me, bro.
lower that barrier of entry.
Someone give me a job.
To come in, it'll just be a login, right? You just come in, log on, we'll custody the assets. There will be very few transactions to sign unless you're like buying or selling NFTs. You'll also have the ability to rent NFTs on the marketplace. And of course sell, but that just makes it, you can baby step your way into the ecosystem. And then separate from that, what's the other thing I was going to say? I wonder if we have talked about yet, I kind of came in a little bit late, but the play to mint concept, where you get like this kind of free to play character, and as you progress so far through the game, you earn the ability to mint an NFT based on that progress, because that's an interesting way, I think, too, to kind of get people, Web2 users, to baby step into these ecosystems. So I'm curious what people's thoughts are on that.
So to be honest, if I jump in here, this has a lot to do with testing. I'm not sure if you guys have been making games for a while, or if it's a new game, if it's a new ecosystem that you guys.
I need to work on that. Thanks for having me. PR
games
bullshit. I don't know how to do that. I don't.
Psychology, human behavior,
I don't know.
how people perceive your game.
I know it's professional and shit. I don't know.
How skilled how much skill is required to play the game. I do personally believe blockchain will remain for skill-based games, not for any other game. It doesn't really make sense, because if my value has time, it has to be competitive. Other people should also be able to competitively play, and then the value of my time has, whatever dollar value is associated with my time is justified, essentially. And now coming to paywalls, coming to NFTs, and how you can enter the game. What about these barriers, and how do we look at it, right? Or how do I personally look at it? The way I perceive this, and I'm coming from a very core, I have experience building games. We've made many chart topping hits. So I come from the right background when I speak about this, and this is where I want to really say that Score Milk was spot on in terms of my understanding of how the dynamics of this work, and so was Crypto Hado. And I really appreciate you guys, talking about this subject matter, and also you, Mikhail, for joining in. But the core here is that yes, the game has to be free. The reason is it's not a retail game. It's a game based on microtransactions. And if I personally know that if this game goes live, and if I have 1 million players coming to experience the game, I need to have full faith in my game. I need to be certain that the game design that I've worked on is so powerful. It has the power to keep people locked in. These people will play the game. And against this, blockchain will develop itself as a layered system. I cannot first develop blockchain. So, for example, I sit and I first do the tokenomics. It makes no sense.
Right.
How did I just do the tokenomics? How do I know that the supply is 500 million? This is 10 million. That is 5 million. I'm going to allocate 10 million here, 5 million there. And it's just a complicated mathematical structure that I'm looking at. All I'm here for is to play the game, man. Come on, So what would I say? What would I suggest here? Many games are not going to do well simply because of this tokenomics that they integrated initially. We've seen this in the case with Axie Infinity. I keep referring to Axie Infinity as it was one of the pioneering games, and they did a very good job. So, like I said, it's evolution, it's innovation. It works the way it works. So hats off to Axie Infinity as well. But they've taught us a lot. It's been a great learning curve. NFTs as a barrier to entry is not just the fact that, hey, this NFT is expensive.
Yeah, you're dealing with a market to try and get into a game. It doesn't make any sense.
The game. That's one problem. The biggest problem with this is that, what about the fluctuation in the price of the NFT? The demand and supply goes left and right, and so the NFT was actually supposed to be $30. Now it's $1,000. What do I do? I don't want to pay $1,000 to experience the game. That's one way of looking at NFTs as a barrier to entry, which fails. It's just the way the system is built. It doesn't work. The next side we have is tokenomics. Now, if I plug in tokenomics from the get-go, I've fixed things here. The supply is there. Everything is fixed there. How do I come about to understanding the fact that, I'm pretty sure this is going to work, even though I don't know how user behavior will impact my game, or how user behavior will impact the tokenomics that I brought in the game. Mikhail, I think you want to say something. Go for it.
Yeah, no, just kind of back to what you're talking about, and you're talking about NFTs as a barrier to entry because people have to purchase them. But I think what I was talking about is like a new generated free NFT. And if you're using things like custodial wallets, you won't have to set all that up, right? You'll just log in through a platform like Sedona. You'll go to the game that you want to play, download it, and then you click and it generates you a free NFT. So you get to start playing for free, and you can earn either skins or further NFTs or weapons in the game that will have value. So that's how I'm talking about like baby stepping people into the ecosystem. Like there is no barrier to entry if it's a free NFT and it's a custodial wallet. You're not having to learn all the blockchain tech. So maybe that's kind of like a middle ground between what you and I are speaking about.
That's valid.
Mustafa, sorry to interrupt. So I'd appreciate if you guys can retweet this space in order for other people to join our conversation as well. So I'd appreciate if you can do that. Yeah, go ahead, Mustafa.
Yeah, sure, guys. Please do that. I think it's a pretty interesting conversation we're having here. So, Mikhail, I agree with you. Yes, that is a methodology that can be applied, right? So I was talking about NFTs which do have a dollar value associated with it, and whereas you're saying that an NFT of zero value is created. So my concern here would be simply how is this NFT of zero value? How is it free? There's a mint cost to it, right? Whatever the mint cost, it could be it could be closer to zero, but now it's dependent on the chain you're using. So for example, let's say you're using Ethereum, right? There is still gas fee. So whatever the value of this NFT is, there's still a value associated with it, right? That's a problem. The other is that if it's not your custom chain on which the NFT is built, so which is a science in itself, right? If you're going to go down that road, because
yeah, I just want to mention. So I have seen on the blockchain side of things. Well, I haven't seen like it been implemented yet, but one of the ideas I've seen float around is having a kind of Web 2.5 where you have the game come out and have it completely have no Web3.
Yeah, I just want to mention. So I have seen.
There's like a version of the game where it's not Web3, and there's also a Web3 version of the game. And so it allows people to play the game and try it out. And then if they're curious about the Web3 aspect, they can jump in and add like a self-custody wallet, or they could use a solution provided by the game developer / publisher. So I have seen that where it's kind of a hybrid between you take like the concept of the Web3, and it's kind of technical. It's not like you can just Web3 is kind of complicated to understand, but once you understand it, it's very easy. And so I think a lot of gamers, when they want to play the game, they don't want to like have to read an instruction manual to play the game. I mean, instruction manuals have been phased out for decades. So I think what we could offer, or as what Web3 could offer, is a Web 2.5 solution where you use an email, you just play the game, and then there's a way to use Web3, and there could be some kind of guide to that. I think that's something that I have heard about that people could implement into Web3 ecosystems.
Where you use an email, you just play the game, and then there's a way to use Web3, and there could be some kind of guide to that. I think that's something that I have heard about that people could implement into Web3 ecosystems.
So that's also an interesting take, but now my question here would be, how would you evaluate these two different cohorts? It's not a good strategy to have one game with two different, literally core models to it. So one is where the same game turns into like a crypto Web3 game, and then there's a Web2 aspect of it, which is without blockchain, the same game, because the game is not the same, is what I'm trying to say. The reason is because the user behavior changes. If my lens towards looking at the game and experiencing the game changes because of blockchain, I need to make sure the same cohort. So cohort would be.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree.
They go through the same game, right? Now, so far, with Mikhail, with yourself.
We're going to mute and talk real quick. Honestly, the only way this is going to work is by getting people in without paying. Because you're taking a risk to play a game. It doesn't make any sense. You got to think of it like you're investing to play a game. Games are not an investment.
That's how I would look at it in very simple, plain terms, right? So if it was us, so Scarspeed, the game that we have, what do we do? What's different between Scarspeed and what Mikhail had, and what you're suggesting? What we're doing at Scarspeed is we're just taking the NFT element, and because our game is skill based. Right, it's like basically Mario Kart fused with Need for Speed. It's a skill-based game where we know that the game will have the core game mechanic to make sure that skilled players are rewarded by default. That's just the nature of things, right? The skins of the game are something that we transform into NFTs, and we have a car factory built in the game, which is like your car, which is your NFT minting process, right? Where you begin, you can come, you
Oh
just
shit.
join the game, play for free, and slowly but surely,
Yo.
move into earning your first NFT, which is now dependent on certain tokens, which are initially going to be in-game tokens. This is why I keep mentioning, talking about why I keep talking about testing. That tokenomics is something that you cannot create from the get-go. This is something that has to naturally evolve, and you have to figure it out. And it's
But
very dependent
you're
on user behavior. Because if I know that my in-game token has
my problem
it's an
is like,
in-game token, so
yeah, there's
not on
V-Bucks and
exchanges
there's
anywhere.
Apex
But by
whatever,
using this
but
in-game token, or another token which is also in-game, soft currency, hard currency,
I
we
know it
replicate the
exists, but I
tokenomics
don't
of
have
it,
to like
right?
take a fucking
And this is how
class to
games
play the
work,
game.
which
I
is
just
by
know how
the
to
way
play the
all
game.
games always have soft currencies and hard currencies. So I use these currencies, and I can now mint NFTs,
Now I'm settled in.
right? And you have these different layers
Now I'm
on top
settled.
of it, on how retention works and so on and so forth, which are part of core game design. But you slowly let them experience it without them even realizing that what they possess
Good
is not
point.
just a normal car, it's actually an NFT. I can go trade it if I want. And whatever this NFT does, this NFT remembers. So if my NFT has taken a part in 10 tournaments, this NFT remembers it. If I have destroyed 10 vehicles, I will remember it. And this in turn creates a legacy system within this NFT, and it starts to give rise to more value, right?
He said
So,
milk, man.
so there are different
His name
ways in
is
which we
Score
can
Milk.
look at how to solve the equation. But the bullet points, the core fundamentals that we're looking at here, which Milkman was right on, Crypto Hado was right on, Mikhail was right on, and okay, Aman, I was actually going to do the bullet points, but I think you have something interesting to say, so come on in.
Yeah, I think just picking off where you left off, like it's actually amazing. What we actually need to try to do is, smoothen the transition from these Web 2 games into Web 3 and integrate the blockchain in such a way that the game is still at the core and the other things are revolving around that space. Score Milk also mentioned that the core is game. I think we're all in agreement that, the game is king,
Bro.
as you said, Mustafa. So, like, even if there's certain financial value that comes with the NFT, we don't want it to feel like a job, right? At the end of the day, it's still a game, and games need to be fun. That's the bottom line. So, like, there was this instance where even Ubisoft, one of the biggest gaming companies, they came up with a game called Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it was, actually their first take on how they wanted to integrate these NFTs into the specifically traditional gamer market. So it should have been insane, but the way that they integrated NFTs, that wasn't good at all. Like with 6 hours
Like Valorant skin. You spend $40 on the Valorant skin. If you don't want anymore, I should be able to trade it. That's just how it works. And it doesn't have to be called blockchain. It's just blockchain is how it works. You know?
weren't satisfied at all about it because at the end of the day they took the core away from the game and they focused on NFTs and there was an imbalance. So there should be a balance and there should be like a smooth transition towards NFTs because at the end of the day even companies like
That's
Ubisoft from
nothing
Ghost
for
Recon Breakpoint, just specifically that game, they just sold like 15 NFTs and that's it for Ubisoft, and that amounted to a total of just $400. So I think that's the key. That's pretty much it from my
I
end.
appreciate your points, Amin. I really appreciate it. And
Dragon Ball
I think
fan.
so. We have Savage Studio here, who would be a right person to actually talk about Axie
He's
Infinity.
muted.
Savage
He's
Studio,
muted.
why do you
That
think
rug?
Axie Infinity came up very strong, but now in a different state?
I can tell you why.
No, we cannot hear
So
you.
I believe,
I can
yeah,
tell you
so
why Axie Infinity failed.
You're unmuted, but we cannot
Savage
hear you.
Studios. Yeah.
Maybe try going down and coming back up.
Yeah, I think that would be better.
Yeah, but in the meantime,
Yeah,
I'll
Mustafa. Yeah,
just
you can continue,
yeah, I'll just
Mustafa's, and
yeah,
yeah,
I'll
I'll add
just
in.
I'll just try to
Yep.
until Sabbath Studios comes back in,
Mhm.
I'll just try to touch on the bullet points that we discussed because obviously time is of the essence. And
this is a really good space, though. I've been in a lot of space. This is really good.
I would want to see you guys again, because now we really want to dive deep. We want to solve this. We want to see what projects are doing, what we're doing, and what is there to be tested, tried, and to see what works and what does not. So bullet points here: the game needs to be free to play. I agree. NFTs are a means of raising funds for studios. That's for sure. I agree. If you have a validated white paper, right? Now, white paper and game design, it's a very complicated science. Many projects I've seen, I am not a fan of, many of the white papers I've seen, but we'll see. Time will tell us how things evolve and how these games perform. And then we have, so we've spoken about
tokenomics is boring shit.
Spoken about, paywalls shouldn't be there. We should have a free-to-play game, which should be the foundation. We've
like nobody cares to read
blockchain, not just
who reads TOS. No one.
Not just creating the entire ecosystem and just throwing it on the game. The game being the fundamental aspect of the experience, and blockchain being an extension of it, or a client to it, right? However, the game stays strong and the game stays in the middle, which is the core value. As long as we have these principles in mind, we can then focus on the retention mechanic. And dividing players, this is my opinion, obviously, right? Dividing players into different cohorts and making them experience two different types of games. When I say different type of game, Web 2, Web 3, it's a big transition. There's finance. So one game has financial value associated with it, one does not. So my way of playing this game, which has financial value associated with it, is different than what it would be if I was playing, let's say, the Web 2 version of the same game. So I would highly recommend and suggest that we should be looking at games which have the same cohort, same users acquired, who then gradually, slowly but surely move or maneuver themselves through this, very complex maze of intricacies that we see here, which is very clear, because there's no right or wrong here until it's purely innovation, unless the market tells us that.
So I just want to talk about the two versions of the game. The idea that was floated around, and this is like from the Play Shrapnel team, is that the game would actually be the exact same game. You just wouldn't receive the actual assets. So, like for instance, if you were playing a game and you received an in-game asset, it would just be an in-game asset. It wouldn't have an NFT associated with it. And the reason why they want to do that is so if people are fearful of blockchain or gaming, or they don't want to deal with like understanding how to make a wallet or connecting a wallet, they could play the game without using that kind of technology. Now, the technology would still be there, but they would have access to it. So I guess you could think of it as like a demo or light version of the game. And I think that's something to look at, but I don't think that that's like the solution. I think really what the solution is education. I think people need to be educated on what the game is capable of, really.
And I think that's something to look at, but I don't think that that's like the solution. I think really what the solution is education. I think people need to be educated on what the game is capable of, really.
Like, but how do you think we can get like educated?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, the way I got educated in crypto in general was reading white papers and going through different token economics and all that stuff. And that's a lot of reading and comprehension, and it is kind of a barrier to entry. But to fully understand that, I think that's the only way you could do it. Now, how we could educate, we can make content on that. That's pretty much what I do on my channel. I do content for that, and
that's a lot of reading.
I think really doing these Twitter Spaces help. Starting that conversation helps like tremendously. But I think we have a long ways to go in terms of like fully integrating players from players to like financial gurus, or I don't want to use financial gurus as a word, but like people have to understand that there is a financial risk involved. If you're going to offer an NFT to entry, if you're not going to offer the NFT to entry, they still need to know the risk involved for like the GameFi aspect or the NFT aspect as well, because again, these things are fluctuating in value.
Financial risk involved if you're going to offer an NFT to entry. If you're not going to offer the NFT to entry, they still need to know the risk involved for like the GameFi aspect or the NFT aspect as well, because again, these things are fluctuating in value.
Score Milk, do you want to shed some light on that?
Yeah, when we talk about NFTs, we got to remember what an NFT is, right? It's an ownable asset. I think when we're talking about, granting players NFTs, the important thing here is showing them the value of it. So I don't think that's what we've done so far. I think once you have an established NFT, let me give you an example. Let's say you have an NFT for game A, Call of Duty, whatever, Call of Duty Mobile. And all of a sudden, you're granting all these asset owners that you can verify that they're the asset owners. You're granting them access to a partner game. That's value. And that's value you cannot do, or you cannot do easily without the NFT. So I think the more important thing is, how do we show the gamer the value of the NFT? What's your take on that?
What's your take on
I
this?
can't see my other account on here.
Those honestly speaking, those are all beautiful points. And I love the way that everybody really is looking to solve this, right? They're looking to solve this problem.
Yeah.
What's my lens? Pure innovation. There are a lot of trials, a lot of test runs, a lot of things that people will do, right? And they should do it. This is how we've evolved as human beings, right? We need to keep at it. And these conversations, like, Sean, you asked, what's the best way to get educated, right? And education is key, which is, I agree 100%. It's the best way to do it is, number one, start to, and this is what I love about blockchain as well, by the way, guys. The fact that it's so easy to talk to people here. If you really want to learn something, you can jump in on a space and you can talk about it. And if you have questions, you can ask them, right? And you have some good people giving you good answers. They might not be the best. It might not be exactly what you were hoping for, or what was 100% concrete and correct, but it's something. We're getting somewhere. So it's a matter of time before we reach that point. I believe it's going to be very, very soon. And since we're all players in the game, we're building our game. I'm sure there's somebody here who's also building their game or thinking about it, or even just working on their own blockchain project, which is not a game but something else. As long as we're in this together and we have information that we can share with each other, which gives us enough value, I believe that's the answer. This is education. This is how you grow. And then obviously you have white papers.
Marketing.
I have seen white papers that have been, I don't even know what, right? But still sold out their NFTs, sold out their collections based on hype. I'm not really entirely sure how the market works, but obviously the dynamics keep changing. When the market is good, people's behavior changes. Market is bad, behavior changes again, mostly negative, but it is what it is. I believe, Sean, you want to jump in?
What I love about Twitter Spaces is it allows people to connect of all different demographics, and it's really bridging the world together.
Perfect. Yeah. So my question from you was that I'm pretty sure you will be the right person to actually talk about Axie Infinity. And my question was, Axie Infinity came up very strong in the beginning, but now they're in a different state. Like, why do you think that could happen to a big game such as Axie Infinity?
Yeah, so good question. I'm actually glad that my mic didn't work, because I wouldn't even know how to answer that on the spot. But I thought about it, and really what happened was the promise of pay to earn, and the fact that I think like 75% of Axie Infinity's player base in the bull run, which was about a couple million, was in the Philippines. And it might have been less. I don't know. I don't know the exact number, but a lot of it was in the Philippines, and a lot of people were struggling with poverty at the time. I remember when I first jumped in to stream Axie Infinity on Twitch, I was just playing with assets on like the blockchain, and I thought that was cool. But then I realized that you could pay, or not pay, but like have other people borrow your assets and then split the earnings and make complete profit without doing the playing yourself, because the playing itself was kind of repetitive and it became monotonous at times, especially with limited assets.
That makes a lot of sense.
So basically, it wasn't concentrated on fun, it was concentrated on earning. And the reason it grew so fast was because there was a huge poverty pandemic, I guess, in the Philippines. And from then on the bull run, it like completely blew up, and it just kept growing and growing. Then all of a sudden, when it started crashing, they changed their rhetoric, and they were going from play to earn to play and earn. And then the whole rhetoric of, oh no, we're concentrating on building a game. They weren't really focused on changing the ecosystem or the economy. So those three things, I think, were the reason that Axie Infinity kind of blew up and then crashed within like a year or two.
Interesting take. And Sabit Suri, if you don't mind me asking, what's your take on forcing tokenomics into it, or building the financial model first versus focusing on the game first? What's your take on this?
So yeah, that's a good question. I'm glad
I'm sorry,
talked about it. So
I'm just happy to be
here.
here.
Hadottv was talking about reading white papers and stuff like that. Gamers should not have to do that, straight up. Like, I did that a lot in 2021 and 2022. I was reading every single white paper. I was doing my due diligence. I was throwing money at things. Not very smart, but I wanted to, I don't think there's going to be a next Axie Infinity, because the way the company succeeded was the timing in the market, timing of the pandemic, the timing of basically everything. And that's how companies succeed. If you look at a lot of other successful companies, it's mainly timing. I'm sorry, what was that? Anyways, yeah, so basically, gamers shouldn't have to read white papers, and there should be no token released. There should be a game first. Now, you should own assets in the game, but I don't think there necessarily should be a huge NFT release and hype up. There should be a game, and you should own an asset, maybe earn an asset, but there is a mixture, because I understand gaming companies need money, and there should be some kind of middle ground. I'm not the guy to figure all that out, but
this guy is truing right now.
Owning your asset in the game is more important than making all this money in video games. Like, yeah, I was lucky I got in the right time, but eventually it became a business and money and not about games. And there was some mix up of really what I wanted to do, because I was streaming video games, and all of a sudden I became a business owner, and then it all crashed and lost a lot of money. But in the end, I really just want video games where I own assets, and that's why I'm still here.
So, Savage Studio, like in general, do you think forcing tokens into a game would actually end up being something like Axie Infinity, that they have changed a lot? So, do you think forcing tokens would actually be a negative impact on a game?
Oh no! So I'm glad you asked that, and you kept on that question, because I think it's a good thing. In the end, in the quarter 4 of after the release and the beginning of the year or something like that, like a year or two later, release a token when you know how the economy works, when you know you have a furnished game token and it starts crashing, your player base can pretty much abandon your entire ecosystem, which abandon investors. It can hurt funding for future things you want to build in the game, because realistically, Axie Infinity wanted to change their version of the game and completely take away from the version 2. It's on version 3 right now. And what happened was they just neglected the ecosystem and the actual cryptocurrency, which balancing cryptocurrency in an economy with NFTs is a lot, especially when even the blockchain developers aren't able to develop as fast as people are able to adapt to ecosystems and stuff like that. So if you have another question, please ask me. I love talking about stuff.
I need to get a new camera. I think it's like
what's your take on 100%? I agree. Absolutely, that's exactly where I was going with this. That it's all based on test
We're
scripts,
trying to watch it right
and
now.
if you're going to bring in tokens, so there are different ways of looking at tokens. Obviously, every game has its currency. It doesn't matter which game you play. You can download a game on the mobile phone, Clash of Clans, let's say. It has its own currency, right? So currency is foundational to a game. But why? Because it's a world that you have to create. It's a universe in itself, and it has its own principles, its own economy, and so on and so forth. Now, when we talk about tokens and on the blockchain, that's where things get tricky. Which is 100%. I agree with what Savage Studios mentioned here, where you need to be certain. Well, we can't be 100% certain, but yes, analyzing information, analyzing user behavior, and how people are playing your game using the tokens. Because let's say, for example, tier one, you still have your NFTs in the game, right? So there is a financial element already there. The tokens, however, are not, right? So you understand user behavior, you understand your users, how they're behaving, and then slowly bring it in. Once you understand the economy, once you understand the financial aspect of what's happening here, right? And then you slowly dive into it. So 100%, I agree with what Savage Studios had to say here.
So I wanted to ask a question, if that's okay. I like the
Yeah,
title
sure,
of
go
the
for it.
space. I like the title of the space, pay to earn versus play to earn at a glance. So do you guys think, so for example, I'll use an example. Axie Infinity, you had to pay for for 3 axes in order to start playing the game to earn. Now, the other alternative was to use someone else's axes to earn. And that is really the reason that it exploded, was 90 something percent of the player base was using other people's assets. 10% of the player base was creating more axes to therefore give them out or loan them out and have people playing them to earn, which is, I think, the main reason it started increasing in player base. So, what do you guys think about pay to earn versus play to earn?
So once again, this was the subject matter. I wanted to deep dive into it, but I realized that pay to earn and play to earn are very closely knit together. And pay to earn is essentially exactly what you mentioned: pay for axes and play the game. Now, the other way is where you can rent, let's say, an axie to play the game. Renting or paying for the NFT or the axie itself, it's pretty much the same. It's still pay to earn. So you still have to pay in order to rent the axie and then play, right? So the foundation here would be pay to earn and then play to earn. So if I'm playing the game, my purpose of playing the game is to earn. It's not fun. It's the core behavior is geared towards making money, and this is where Philippines, like you mentioned, Savage Studios, you mentioned, the state of the economy in Philippines. It was not doing well, right? So poverty stricken, for example, right? And and these were the people foundationally that went for it, right? So their reasons for playing the game were different. And yes, so people did start playing the game, and many users did jump on the game, right? But now, how many people are playing the game? What is user acquisition looking like for them? Is it a problem? I'm pretty sure it is, right? Because if user acquisition turns into a problem, that's where your game starts to literally not be scalable, right? So for me to imagine that every time I want to play a game, I need to spend money, it's just not gonna work for me. Um, and if I look at it from a player's perspective, so we make games, like I said, right? And what have I learned while building games? If somebody asks me, that it's the experience that people are looking for. So reality is fundamentally broken, and people generally turn away from their their problems, the issues with reality, in order to go into this different reality, which is there to solve
There
their
could be room
problems,
for
right?
both, though.
Now, if the reason is right, and we'll stay focused with pay to earn and play to earn, that I don't want this experience to be, for you to purchase an NFT in order, or let's say a pass, right? A battle pass or whatever it may be, in order to experience this game. I want this game to be free because I know already that if I have a multitude of players playing the game, and enough assets in the game that people are ready to share, people are ready to trade, and so on, that it will be fulfilling enough for me to reward my players, to reward these people with, whether it's some dollar value, whether it's airdrops of certain merchandise, gadgets, whatever it may be, right? This is where things can get a little tricky. But in my view, if we're looking at pay to earn, play to earn, I personally I would stay away from these terms. What I really want is a game which is free, so you can just come in and experience the game. And what I truly believe in is that, and it's not just me. When I say I truly believe, it's just Corley. Honestly, it's been just locked up inside me. And I'm sure there are people who are resonating with what I'm saying here. That it's fundamentally about the experience. It's fundamentally about the game being fun and adding value to the time that I spend playing the game. Let's start from there. Let's start from somewhere so that Web2 community can easily join in and go from there. So I think Score Milk wants to jump in. Who raised their hands first? I go for it. Go for it.
All right. So, I mean, when it comes to pay to earn, one of the biggest challenges is the complexity of tokenomics. I mean, everything you have an ever expanding NFT base. That's great and dandy as long as your user base keeps growing. The minute your user base flatlines, that's where the problems come in. Now, you have all these NFTs and nobody wants to buy them. The user base is just not growing at a rate.
Yeah, I think the example I want to bring up here is
NFTs.
CSGO skins. I mean, this has been something for
but the
years that
tokenomics
we've
become
had.
very challenging.
It's not labeled an NFT, but it's a skin that you can resell on the Steam
And,
store.
crypto,
I think that the experience, like you said, is the most important thing, and then the trading of assets comes later. I think NFTs can be introduced, like now you can see that you have the full ownership of the assets, and the tokenomics really doesn't exist in CSGO trading. It's just the skins that you trade. The skins have a valuation, they have a supply and demand, you have the market dictate that price, and you just go from there. And I think that the reason why it's so successful on CSGO is because they have a very, very large player base. They've released so many Counter-Strike games, and they've had like a history to that. So I think you really have to build up the game before you can offer the market type of, I guess you say, benefit towards the game. Because I think the game is the most important thing. Gameplay quality is the most important thing when it comes to gaming. Is it a good quality game? And then on top of that, you have a market that you can participate in. I think that's really the focus of where Web3 gaming should go.
The game is the most important thing. Gameplay quality is the most important thing when it comes to gaming. Is it a good quality game? And then
fuck with me.
On top of that, you have a market that you can participate in. I think that's really the focus of where Web3.
I'm such a dork. I'm such a dork.
100% spoken right from the heart, and that's exactly what we're doing at Scarspeed. To be very honest with you, and it's the reasons being, as we discussed, as was discussed by Score Milk, which is that tokenomics is very complex, and the fact that once it's on the blockchain, it turns into an even more complex science. So we should just evolve naturally, and not focus on anything abnormal, not focus on anything sudden. We should take it easy, and take it from there.
So,
Yeah,
Mustafa, quick question. Like, when would be the best time to actually for a project to think about having a token? Like, you're saying that tokens are usually having downsides on different projects, but like, what would be the main reason that people should actually think about having
transparency?
Like, what's their advantage?
So, like I said, the advantage is there, right? It's on the blockchain. That's number one. Whoever owns it. They can see it. The classic blockchain example is there. The fact that you're actually earning currency that you can trade for another currency. So these are the general go-tos for why a token should be in the game. It's just a completely different way of looking at playing games, right? It's such a stark change in how things are being done, or how things will be done in the future, that it's going to take a while, in order to really understand how it has impacted people. Because I personally think we could have a bunch of people who all they do is play games. That's it. They play games. They earn through games, and it's a profession. It's something that's real, and that's how big this thing, it turns into. It's like an industry in itself. A game in itself turns into a powerhouse of having professionals and people actually earning, and it's so strange. Like it's something from the movies actually. Yeah, sure, crypto.
Savage Studio, go ahead.
The other challenge I think
I'm
too
gonna give
is
a short answer.
whenever you have a
release
project
a
that is
token when
having
you have
economic
utility for
issues,
it.
and then you go from earning like a stable amount to now you're earning
100%,
less
fair
and you're
enough, I
earning
agree.
less.
For
And that's going to
Go ahead.
disincentivize players to play the game, especially if they're not having a fun play experience. So I think really the first and foremost thing is gameplay needs to be taken into account 100%, needs to be the focus. And then the play to earn mechanic needs to be like thoroughly explained. And whenever the rewards like get cut in half, you need to understand players are going to leave if you do that. So you have to do it in a way where you have to set up your treasury and tokenomics and all that where it doesn't affect the players at all. Because I think that was a problem with, I can't remember the name of the game, but it's one of those like overhead RPG games, and I was playing through it, and all I see the chat was saying is, I've been playing this game for hours, and I'm not getting the same rewards that I've been getting when the game first came out, and that's turning a lot of players off. And I just joined the game, like I don't even know what's going on. I think you focus on gameplay, people aren't going to care too much about the financial incentive, but to add a financial incentive on top of a good game, I think that's what needs to be focused on.
And that's turning a lot of players off. And I just joined the game. Like I don't even know what's going on. So I think you focus on gameplay, people aren't going to care too much about the financial incentive, but to add a financial incentive on top of a good game, I think that's what needs to be focused on.
Yeah, that can kill a game.
Yeah, that was a huge downfall in Axie. They split the earnings, or not split. Actually, they reduced the earnings by a significant amount, and a lot of the player base.
What's up, Web3 gamer? Welcome to the stream, bro. Appreciate that. Yeah,
so it could actually backfire, right?
I've been streaming on Twitch for the longest, and I'm
really backfire. So it needs to be.
I'm tired of Twitch. Twitch is just haram. Twitch is turning so haram these days. I'd rather be on YouTube.
Economy and the design of the economy and so on, and user behavior, obviously.
But the thing is that when you understand the economy of the game itself, you basically are in the middle of like creating the game itself. For example, the game is like maybe as soon as the game is out, you will actually understand the economics that you can actually feel comfortable to have tokens. But the thing is, for the people who actually want to get VCs on their project, if a project doesn't have
That's
a
scummy.
token, how should a VC actually come inside and invest? Like I should just disagree with this part that like we should wait for the
It's a non-fungible
but
token.
like what should projects do for the VC part?
So that's where you have your classic NFTs, right? Come in. I mean, it doesn't really have to be a token. Like why? So NFT is also a token, by the way, guys. Right? Just so that everybody's clear on this aspect. So it doesn't have to be a coin offering, right? It could be an NFT offering. It could be like, hey, I have a collection of sick, and a lot of people are doing this, by the way. That's how games are preferably going to the market, where they want to go for their NFTs versus their token, which is a coin. Now, if you want to do both, obviously many people have done both. That's just one of the models that obviously could be applied. But like I said, you could also do the same thing. You could also raise money, raise funds in the crypto world through investors, vis-a-vis NFTs.
So do you have any model that projects can actually, instead of using like tokenomics and tokens, they can actually use the NFT itself for the investors?
I mean, that's something that you can search.
True.
That's honestly all I can say here is other people. So yeah, Squirmel, go for it.
Okay, I think that question of when to create a token, that's a critical question. I don't think all games need tokens. That's number one. When it comes to investment, I mean, you always have traditional companies, they want equity. We've talked to a lot of traditional VCs, and they don't even mention a token. The crypto VCs want a token because that's easy liquidity. Their 12 months are up and they can dump on the market, as a lot of them do. Um, yeah, when it comes to having a token, there's also other things you got to take into account. I would make sure you're
These are
prepared
very,
for
very
different
good points.
scenarios. How is your token going to
I hear
perform
that.
on a down market, on an
These are
up
great
market,
points.
on a growing user base? Does your staking contract retain or incentivize not selling the token? Things of that nature. I think there's so many things you need to take into account. Do you have a burn mechanism, to counter certain things? And those are things you really need to evaluate on, on a platform level or on a game level,
True.
and be prepared for all those scenarios. Because if you face the wrong scenario, you're done. I mean, you look at all these gaming projects that have come out, a lot of them are down like 95%. And that's mostly because of tokenomics.
Sahil, do you have any take on this that you would like share with us?
Yeah, hey everyone. So yeah, like definitely equity is is the only option if you are not diluting any what we say tokens or NFTs. Then for some of the VCs or even as of now, if you see the market conditions, most of the VCs ask for equity as well. So you can definitely liquidate some equity to get some like fundings as well.
Yeah, but at the same time, I would come back to the same point that we need to be, um, just as Score Milk mentioned here as well, that tokenomics is just extremely tricky. And if you're doing the tokenomics just because you want to raise funds through tokenomics, there are other ways to raise funds. Like like was mentioned. So the classic example is, or the classic way is, go to traditional VCs, raise funds against equity. That's one. If you still want to go for crypto VCs, you can go for NFTs, right? It's not something that is too abstract here. But obviously, they're going to probably focus on the utilities. What is the difference in the utility for investors, and what's the difference in utilities for the game players? Obviously, there needs to be some sort of differentiation here, and yeah. So
Yeah, I just think
those are my
that
2 cents on it.
it's similar to how we have the ESRB rating different games, like how we
Okay.
should treat
So does anyone
mature
have
content,
any
adult
comments on
content,
this?
teen content, etc. We should
Yeah,
have
go ahead.
something
Yeah,
similar when
go
it
ahead.
comes to
Go
these
ahead.
crypto games where
Yeah, I just think that
there's there's some
similar to
kind of
how we
like
have the
standard regulatory
ESRB
body,
rating
maybe not
different games, like how
because
we
they have a
should
lot of
treat
government influence, but
mature
there should be some
content,
kind of
adult
standard when it
content,
comes
teen
to
content, etc.
what
We
kind
should
of
have
games these
something
are. And I
similar
think
when it
there's a lot
comes
of
to these crypto
categories that we can
games
fit
where
games into.
there's
Like
there's some kind
Other
of like
mentioned
standard
on
regulatory
this
body,
Twitter
maybe
space, we
not
don't need a token for every
because they have
single
a lot of
game.
government
There
influence,
should be
but
some
there
kind
should
of
be
like
some kind of standard when it
categorizing
comes
to
to
this game is
what kind of
a
games these are. And I
DeFi
think there's a
type
lot of
game.
categories
It's
that we
more of a
can fit games
simulator. It's
into.
not really a
Like
AAA title.
Other
And then we could have
mentioned
like
on
this is a
Twitter
AAA
space,
title.
we don't
It
need a
just has
token for every
NFTs. That's how
single
it's
game.
involved with
There should be
Web3.
some
We
kind
have
of
to be
like
more specific as
categorizing
to
this
how we're
game
using the
is
NFTs
a
in the
DeFi
games
type
and
game. It's
how
more of a
we're using
simulator. It's not
tokenomics in the
really a
games.
AAA title.
And
We could have like
giving
this
us
is
a
a
white
AAA
paper, which
title.
I
It
like to
just has
equate as an
NFTs.
instruction
That's how it's
manual,
involved with
isn't going to
Web3.
be the
We have to
solution
be
in my
more
opinion,
specific
because a lot
as
of people
to
don't read terms of
how we're
services when
using
they
the
join
NFTs in the
platforms.
games
So you're
and
expecting a
how
lot of
we're
people to
using
just jump
tokenomics
in
in the games.
and read all this
Giving us a
documentation and
white
have a
paper,
full
which I like to
understanding.
equate as an
Really, we
instruction
have to have
manual,
some kind of
isn't going to
standard.
be the solution in
I
my
would
opinion,
prefer to have
because
some
a
kind
lot
of
of people
standard
don't
that
read terms of
rates all
services
these
when they
things
join
and gives you
platforms.
like,
So
okay, this
you're
is a
expecting a lot of
game where
people
I
to
just
just
can
jump in
play and there are
read all this
NFTs, or this is a
documentation
game
and have
that
a
I
full
need to
understanding.
understand the
Really, we
tokenomics
have to
before I
have some
get
kind
into
of
the game,
standard.
because it's more of an
I
investment
would
than a
prefer to
game.
have some
Do you
kind
see
of
where I'm going
standard
with
that
this?
rates all these things and gives you like, okay, this is a game where I just can play and there are NFTs, or this is a game that I need to understand the tokenomics before I get into the game, because it's more of an investment than a game. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, Mustafa, you want to comment on this?
Yeah, no, it's true, man. It is what it is. I mean,
We need an
that's
ESRB
that's
for
the
this.
ultimate truth. We have to create a system where we all first sit down,
When's the last
understand the
time
dynamics
anyone
of
has
what it
read a
is that we're
terms of
trying to go
service?
for. And white paper might not be the only way to understand this. I mean, unless the white paper is very well detailed, but who reads? Like, a gamer is not there to read white papers. They're there to play the game, right? Which is why I'm more inclined towards the free to play aspect of the game. If the game is free to play, you focus on the experience. Give it to people to check it out, test it out, and how NFTs are going to be
Ooh, that's a good point.
My 2 cents on this.
Great point.
They should be skin
Great fucking
cosmetic
point.
changes, because in my opinion, skill-based games will be the future of blockchain games. Like I said, because of the competitive nature of how financial value is associated with competitive nature. It's just how it is naturally as well. So that is how I see things, and yeah, I mean it's quite incredible. These talks that we're having and talking about literally shaping the future.
So Mustafa, can you tell us more about like why you think a game should be a skill-based game and not be something that so there you have like I'm sure we have seen a lot of projects that the more you pay, the more advantage you will have in a game, which is not true like in my opinion. But like why do you think a game should be a skill-based game? Like why do you think this is the future?
So that's a great question, and coming from a gamer's heart,
this guy is good.
Games that are skill
This guy is
based
good at what he's doing, bro. He's really good at like dissecting all this.
there, and it naturally creates
It's very,
a
very
ladder
valid.
system in which you compete with other people who are at the same level or closer to this to the level where you're at as a gamer, right? So your experience is always, it's fun. And if you look at the best performing games globally, they're all competitive in nature. So you have, for example, League of Legends, you have Dota, you have Call of Duty, any big title, right? You name it. There has to be a competitive streak to it. Now, the other point that you mentioned was, what about paying your way through, right? So what if I pay $1,000 and I get a very, very nice gun, and suddenly I'm the king of the game? Now, if that happens, other people will not play with you. So imagine playing Call of Duty and having a weapon that is so overpowerful just because you had money.
Pay to win.
That every time you enter a game, there's nobody to play with. You're the only one there because everybody just leaves on you, right? And this is what we call in our world a break in the game. So basically your game breaks if you do something of the sort. So naturally, you want to stay away from areas where you give the pay to win leverage, and you want to stay away from an ecosystem which is not really well thought out, especially when it comes to competitive games. So you can't really
Mario Kart is luck based.
Is competitive in nature.
Luck based, bro.
A good competitive game would be Mario Kart.
There's all different parameters and stuff that you have to like go through, and then it's all luck based.
Supercar does not have
the skill is hitting your green shells. That's the skill. And hitting your bombs and hitting your bananas.
So in order for you to keep the game balanced when it comes to skill-based games, you want to shift your NFT focus onto skins and cosmetic changes. So the color of the car, maybe the color of whatever asset it is, and so on and so forth. And that's how I would look at the situation.
Savage Studio, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, please. I wanted to say, when you have a skill-based game, it eliminates the problem of bots, and that was a huge downfall of Axie Infinity. Was it was able to be botted, and they really couldn't do anything about it. The more people that were minting the tokens by playing the game, decrease the value of all tokens. So all those bots were decreasing the value of the tokens. So when you have a tokenomic system and there's bots,
100%.
It's incredibly important to have a skill-based game, because then the best skilled players will earn and the least skilled will not earn, and there will be no inflationary tokenomics bot problems.
What do you think, Mustafa, about this?
Guys, I am actually not, I couldn't hear Savage Studios perfectly as I should have, honestly. I'm not sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Savage Studio, do you want to tell us here about your again?
Oh, was it my microphone or something like that? You couldn't hear?
Yeah, we could just not hear you.
Okay. Yeah.
I still can't hear you. I still can't hear you, Savage. I'm not sure why. Should I jump in again?
Yeah, you can jump in and jump out.
Okay.
What about you, Sean? Can you hear me?
There's
Yeah,
something about Twitter space that's just so
I could hear you
innocent.
now.
Okay, yeah,
I
go
can
ahead.
hear you now. I can hear you now, Savage.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll say
sorry.
it again. I don't mind because this is incredibly important. So having a skill-based game is important to eliminate bots, and that's basically what I said.
So sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. There seems to be some sort of an audio issue here. So sorry, Savage. If I heard you correctly, you were talking about bots being an issue in games. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
so what Savage Studio was talking about was that having a skill-based game, like skill-based game, like it just eliminates the fact of having like more bots for the games. So
League of Legends has so many bots and
Yeah,
Lilo.
of course.
Oh my god.
I mean, a skill-based game. So bots is a different it's a different science altogether. And how you could create bots who can um, enter a game and do something there. It's very natural that people would want to try and do it. You just want to mitigate your path away from this. But regarding bots being so obviously if it's not a skill-based game and bots are in the game, it's much easier to identify and whatnot. With skill-based games, you can easily tell because if I have a bot, I can easily tell that this is a bot that I'm playing with. It's not a real person. It could be an unrealistic aim. It could be unrealistic movement and so on. So it's really it's a very deep question, to be honest, and extremely technical in nature. Um, and yeah, but honestly, Savage, I'm so sorry because I haven't really understood your question at the depth that I wanted to understand it at. But this is what I'm understanding so far, that bots um, you know could be a part of skill-based games, and um, the issues that would have. And like I said, for me, if that is the question, so Sean, can you just once again repeat Savage's point?
No, maybe you guys aren't hearing him correctly. What he's saying is that it's a lot easier to bot a game that's not skill based.
It's a lot easier to bot up a game that's not skill-based.
Yeah, if it's a game that you just log in and do certain tasks, it's a lot easier to do than a
Yes,
game that's
yes,
skill
yes,
based.
absolutely. That's exactly, yes. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, I agree, 100%. Which is exactly what I was pointing towards, that for skill-based games, it's because people still do
I
create
hate
bots
League of
even for
Legends
skill-based
bots.
games. They try to do that, but it's easier to pick on that. And for monotonous games, 100%, botting it up is something that's it's 101, especially if it's blockchain. Imagine that. So you're earning and you create a bot and it just earns for you. Just that's crazy.
So Mustafa, we have a few questions in the comments. So one of them is that the issue with skill-based games is that 70% of the gamers are not very
That's
good
life.
at like that particular game. For
Mm-hmm.
example, racing game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that may affect the game in a bad way. But like, what's your take on that?
So that's an excellent question, and this will bring me back to the ladder system that I was talking about. That players of so you create an algorithm here. Players of similar skill will meet players of similar skill. So if, for example, you're not the very best, you're playing with, let's say, the Diamond League, and you realize Diamond League, these players are really good, right? So you go a league down, so you get demoted, for example, and it's the other way around as well. So let's say you're playing in the Iron League, which is, let's say, the beginner league or League One, and you're doing very well. You go to League Two, League Three, League Four, and so on and so forth, however many leagues there are. And this is also done through testing. So you create, you have these cohorts, you analyze them, you analyze your users, and create a pattern out of it. What's the best way in which you can configure these users and the best matchups for them, what they would look like. And you have good examples of people doing this, right? You have League of Legends does this very well, by the way.
But
And
most
mhm.
of the truth is that, for example, Fortnite is like a skill-based game, as you know, but
it has been brought up a lot in these past few years that it has been like a high
That's kind
trend
of a loaded
game. But
question.
like, what would be the reason of that? Like how can they do that?
So obviously, I can't really go into the intricacies of exactly why what somebody did or how they did it on Fortnite. That's not my forte, honestly. But what I could talk about here is that yes, like I said, even in skill-based games, you
Let
could
me
create
talk.
bots, right? And there are ways to do it.
Let
But
me talk,
is
mother.
it not easily identifiable? It is. So
Mm.
Fortnite has become a big game, and you have to also remember one thing, that games are naturally evolving as well. So they probably have a team already focusing on how to,
Yeah, so I want to bring up a very, very
mitigate this,
specific
right?
example.
And
I'm
how
glad you
to
mentioned games like
pick
League
on
of
these
Legends.
bots
There are
and
tons
sort
of
of,
bots in
start removing
Bronze
them.
Elo, and I
Yeah,
struggle with that
Score
all
Milk
the
and Crypto,
time.
Um,
I
so
didn't
Otto,
really know the
Otto
reason
first,
why,
so
so I did
Otto,
some
you want to
research
go?
on
go for it.
this. So
Yeah, so I
apparently
want to
there's
bring up
account
a very,
trading.
very specific example. I'm glad
And
you
so what
mentioned
people will
games
do
like
is they'll
League of
bot their
Legends. There are
accounts
tons of
to
bots
put themselves
in
into
Bronze
a lower
Elo, and
rank.
I
So
struggle with
they'll
that all
sell
the
that
time.
on a different marketplace,
And
or
I didn't really
illegal
know the reason
marketplace. Let's
why,
just
so I
use
did
that
some
word.
research on this.
And
So
people will buy those
apparently there's
accounts
account
and
trading.
sell them, and people will
And
be
so what
playing
people will
from
do is they'll bot
different
their
ranks that they
accounts
don't
to
belong
put
into.
themselves
So I
into a
think a
lower
way to
rank.
disincentivize
So
that
they'll
with
sell that on
chain
a different
technology is to
marketplace,
have some
illegal
kind of
marketplace.
account sharing marketplace to
And
it.
people
And
will buy
maybe
those accounts
instead of
and
like
sell them, and people will be
having like
playing
something
from
going kind of
different ranks that
backdoor
they
to
don't
like
belong
let
into.
people
So I think a way to disincentivize that
play in a
with
different
blockchain
elo,
chain
they could just
technology
trade
is to have
something
some
instead
kind
of
of
that.
account sharing
So like we could
marketplace
use
to it.
NFTs and
And
blockchain
maybe
to replace
instead of
the
like
need for them to want to do that,
having like
to get
something
some kind
going
of
kind of
gratification. Because
backdoor to
really
like
what they
let
do is
people
they do this because it's more fun
play in
to
a different
play in a lower
elo, they
elo,
could just
but
trade
it
something
causes this problem
instead of
where
that.
you do have this
So like
ladder
we could use
system that is
NFTs and
efficient,
blockchain
and then you have
to
people that
replace
are
the
kind
need
of
for them to
snaking their
want to
way
do that
into
to get
a
some kind
lower
of
ladder.
gratification. Because
And if you're
really
gonna
what they do is
if you're
they
gonna
do
give
this
an
because
algorithm
it's more fun to play in a lower
lower,
elo, but
a
it
spread
causes
of
this
like
problem where
earnings
you do
based
have
off
this
of
ladder system that is
skill,
efficient,
that's
and then
going
you
to
have
affect
people
that
that
as
are
well. So
kind of
you got to
snaking their
find
way
ways to
into a lower
disincentivize people
ladder.
to do
And
those things in the first place.
if you're
I
gonna
think
give an
maybe if they have
algorithm
something to trade instead of like their
lower,
accounts and using
spread
NFTs
of
and
like
blockchain like
earnings
that, maybe
based
that's
off
something
of
that could help. But
skill,
I can see how that
that's
could be
going
a
to affect
problem.
that as well. So you got to find ways to disincentivize people to do those things in the first place. So I think maybe if they have something to trade instead of like their accounts and using NFTs and blockchain like that, maybe that's something that could help. But I can see how that could be a problem.
I think that's an excellent point. Black market and how NFT solves this problem. I 100% agree. Score Milk, you've had your hand raised for a while. Go for it.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in here because this is pretty much Score Milk's specialty. For those that aren't
That's
familiar
not
with Score Milk,
that's
Score
not
Milk
Kenwood?
is a gaming architecture for competitive gameplay. So the idea is to bring competitive 1v1 or 2v2 to casual games. If you want to play Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, you can do so on Score Milk. So the problem with cheating, the problem with bots, that's been one of our emphasis from day one. One of the things that we did is we applied for a patent. What the patent does, it embeds human only readable content into gameplay elements. We have a working prototype of that. In our prototype, let's say picture a simple snake game where you're going after the pellet, but now you have two pellets, and then we have a human only readable content, could be sound, could be a captcha, saying which pellet is good, which pellet is bad. What that does, it gives an advantage to a human player over a bot. Now we thought that's not enough because you always have, the tech is advancing, you have AI and so forth. So we decided to build our entire gaming architecture in a community centric fashion. So that way you only play, or you have the option of only playing against people that you know, that you feel comfortable with. I think when it comes to skill based gaming, you're always going to have, especially if you're incentivizing it with money, you're always going to have that issue. So I think it's very important to let players play against people that they know that they feel comfortable with.
Agreed, 100%. And, it is a challenge nonetheless. But it's great to hear, Score Milk, you guys are working on this, man. This is amazing. Maybe we can chat about it as well, once our development is at that stage, for sure, 100%. But yeah, guys, I believe it's been a lovely call. Let me just confirm the time here.
Yeah, it's been an hour and a half. I think we should be good. If you guys have nothing to say, let me know. It's been a really good space, and I really loved our first space. And, like this was our first, and I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate that you talked about a few points, and I really appreciate it. And if you guys want to learn more about ScarSpeed, you can go to scarspeed.com, take a look at our white paper. We have a cool trailer, you can check it out. And if you want to get wireless pro project, you can do it there. All you have to do is go to scarspeed.com. Other than that, if there are any collabs you want to do with
Thank
us,
you guys so
DM us
much.
on the main account, and I'll see you guys next week at the same time here on another space with a
Yeah.
different topic. Thank you guys for being here, and have a great weekend.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
It was
thanks,
a
guys. Thank
great
you.
Okay, that
space.
was interesting. That was
Yeah. Thank
that
you,
was
guys.
cool.
Thank you guys so much.
And the space, bro. Oh, you gotta use it. So,
Looking forward to the
what did
next
we
one.
learn from that call?
All right, guys.
Let's see. What did we learn from this call here? Is it still going on? Oh, they all left. All right. So, let's wrap this up. I was gonna do this stream. I gotta work on some videos here. Diving into a lot of different crypto games. So I'm just gonna read out some stuff here. So I'm doing a video on the following games, and we're working on one of them right now. So we're doing a video on Evaverse, and I'll show you guys real quick what these are. So we're doing a video on Evaverse. This is like a metaverse kind of sports looking game with like interesting looking characters. We're doing a video on that. We're doing a video on Oath of Peak, and I'm actually working on that video today. So expect that video to come out sometime today. Oath of Peak looks like Genshin Impact to me. It looks like a Genshin Impact type of game, but it's just basically an RPG, anime RPG MMO. Got voice acting. It's got story. It's interesting. I like it. And let's see here. Expectar, another metaverse project. This is going to be on the XRP ledger. That's what the character models look like, and they're building concepts of like what the actual metaverse world could look like. I'm assuming there's going to be land ownership, and being built in Unreal 5, so that's pretty cool. We're also going to be doing a video on medieval empires. Okay, I've got to find out the we'll find out the URL for that one. And then Danu Games is working on the game. And this is a open world RPG, not Final Fantasy, but it's like really cool looking. I love these graphics personally, but we're not I don't think they're releasing it anytime soon. The Oath of Peak game is out right now in beta, so I'll be doing a video on that one since it's already out in beta. And then there's Parallel TGC. See, I'm really bad at spelling, y'all. So sorry about that. Parallel TGC. So this is going to be a card game. Here's a trailer.
You're welcome.
So this is a card game. Looks pretty cool. Futuristic metaverse, 3D models, kind of like StarCraft moving around. Look at this one right here. StarCraft looking stuff. I'm going to be using references to real world games that already exist. So, because that's what we know. We don't know about metaverse. We're still learning. We're all kind of learning how we're going to build these games out. Mech NFT is a game where you can create your own game mode. So it's a very open sandbox mech kind of game. This looks like what is this game called? Bejeweled. I think that was the first version of that. But you basically mint your own assets, you buy land, you make your own gameplay modes.
Now, let me tell you guys, typically level design is one of the hardest parts of making a game. But as you can see, using our in-game map editor,
I love world builders, so like this is just right up my alley. So awesome. And then the last video that we're going to make is another video. And this is not the last, but it's another video idea that we're coming up with soon, is what NFTs can be used for. And this is going to be kind of a educational piece on what is currently being created for NFTs. And then in addition to that, like what the possibilities are, because NFTs are endless possibilities. So I'll be like diving in, doing some real world examples and try and get that understood. So that's going to be it for the live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed the Twitter space. I will be posting this on my YouTube channel with a different thumbnail, probably the same one with this live stream or whatever. I didn't have time to put that together, so that was last minute, but that's pretty much going to be the stream for this. I might do a separate stream on my gaming channel. So that's going to be Hadottv Gaming or Games. Is it? What is my gaming YouTube channel? Forget the name of it. Hadottv Games. That's the name of the gaming channel. So I don't know if you guys have noticed or paid attention, but if you are a subscriber of this channel, I have changed up the way this is. So we're going to be focusing more on educational topics in Web3 gaming. So pretty much just going over Web3 topics, news, overviews of games, overviews of ecosystems of games, and focusing on gameplay first and foremost is what I'm trying to focus on. I also may be uploading shorts based off of this content. So shorts is going to be something that I upload daily based off of the videos that I've made and based off of Web3 related news. So this is pretty much going to be your education hub if you're looking into Web3 gaming. So, moving forward, that's pretty much how you can expect or what you can expect from this channel. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Videos that I've made, and this was just like my first live stream YouTube on my first live stream on YouTube. So that's going to be it for today's stream. If you're, I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Like the video if you're watching. It helps the channel out a lot. And yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace out.